Hello and welcome to The Solution, where we discuss what does the wisdom of Kabbalah have to say about economy and the social agenda. Hello, Dr. Lightman. Hello, everyone. And we'll go over the economic algorithm that's trying to explain Kabbalah's approach to the different events in the integral world. And before we continue where we stopped off, what is the difference between where a person feels that we're all in one pot, pressure cooker, the entire world, global world, that's really pressuring us from all sides, and the feeling that we're in a single system? I think that it's one and the same. This system that is global and integral, that has to reach balance, that has to reach its integrality, globality, and today is under the pressure of foreign forces that are pulling it in all directions. This system is really in a very ill state of affairs, and each of us is inside this system. We can't escape from it. So we're all closed like in a pressure cooker. Maybe there's an element of an inner feeling of participating in these laws. In a pot, you were thrown into this system, and what can you do? When you feel the system, maybe it's something else. Look, that on the one hand, we're under the laws of nature. This is on the one hand. On the other hand, we have relations between us that we can, as if, theoretically change, only we don't really want to. We could have changed this a long time ago, were we to know how to talk to each other and decide together to do something. But the problem is that we cannot connect and do something together, and therefore we're suffering. And the laws of nature, they are turning us into what we have to become, meaning through different such states, unpleasant states, it is bringing us to the recognition of evil, that we are under the control of our ego, and each of us wants only to the benefit, to the detriment of others, until we will reach a state where we had enough, and that's it. Finally, we have to correctly calculate things. And how does a person acquire the feeling of the system? Because he understands that economically, he depends on others. You see it with businesses, you see it with everything. No, we don't see it yet. It's unclear yet. It is the first time that with this first coronavirus, I already call it the first coronavirus because they're already talking about a series. So only now are we starting to understand the measure to which we're all interconnected, the measure to which we're all interdependent, the measure to which we are around the planet, all under one force, like the coronavirus, how it roams among everyone, passing from place to place all around the world, even from island to island in the Pacific Ocean. How could it be? If I bought myself some island and I live on it, with my boat, my bungalow, and the virus reaches me, why? How? Where did it come from? This is how it is. We see that this is how it happens. Meaning, we see that we are in an integral system all around the world, and no one can escape it. So maybe, as a result, we'll finally understand that we're all interdependent and that we have to perform a general self-scrutiny. We see from economists, business people, that at least the understanding that we live in a global world and the globalization and common processes and our dependence, it exists, but they found a way of how to benefit from it, how to make money on it. It still doesn't, I still don't see that anyone understands what does it force us to do or how it forces us to change. So what can the further crises of Corona 2, 3, and 4 do for us? only bring us to the recognition of evil. When this evil will also come to those that enjoy counting every day their new billions of dollars, only then maybe will there be some kind of change, and also not for sure. But first of all, to get there, in the meantime, they're only making more. Yeah, just to explain that. On our previous show, we also said that we're not blaming them or anyone else because we all have the same DNA, which is egoistic, and were we in their place, we'd all act the same way probably. So it's very important that we don't go to populism or blaming others. No. None of that, of course. In our talks, and we're set on the right course, that we don't mind this or that. We want the truth about where we are, where we identify with nature. So, in the PowerPoint, let's go to slide number 3 to continue with the algorithm, and we have a few questions. Here, we say that the first stage is, first of all, we understood that trying to take care of, deal with the symptoms, problems like poverty, unemployment, lack of competition, this too expensive, this, that, it's all destined to fail. And there are many reforms and ideas, and even if people have a good intention, we see that there are very few things that we can really correct. Why? Because, as we've explained, that it's not the problem itself, these are only the symptoms. And if we don't identify the problem itself, which is the gap between what nature demands of us and our current egoistic relations, according to this algorithm, there's no point in dealing with the symptoms. So this my question. If so, besides people having their basic needs, a place to live, what to wear, medical care, and so on, sit and do nothing better. Yes, until we'll know how to advance. Exactly. Now, on the other hand, what do you recommend people that have burning problems that, for them, maybe for us, basic needs, it's okay, but for them it's painful. They're demanding a solution. You're saying, no, until we understand the problem, let's be educated, what's burning? What problems do they have? That he wants to be an artist, that he wants to be a director. What's so burning? People today have different levels of desire. It's like the example that you give. A woman could open her wardrobe that's full and abundant, and she has, I have nothing to wear. So she feels bad right now. She wants to buy something. You're saying, no, things aren't that bad. Let's first of all get education, the correct education. Is there an immediate solution? Nothing besides education, only education. And she's right. It's forbidden for us to simply limit and say, be quiet, like we sometimes tell a child that's nagging. But we nonetheless have to teach everyone that because the world is global, we have to make sure that everyone has their basic needs according to what they really need. The definition of basic needs is something very flexible. Different people see different needs as basic needs. And here I'd like to ask, sometimes, once every now and then, there is certain reform that it seems as if it worked out. Suppose the cellular phone that I'm holding, in the past, we pay 3 or 4 or 500 shekels, which is like $100 a month. Came a reform that has nothing to do with the recognition of evil, introduced competition into the market, and today we pay 29 shekels, which is like $5, $4, and everyone's happy. $7. How does it work? I don't know. You have to explain. You're an economist. I can explain it through the tools of economy that there's competition, which is good for consumers, and once there are more players, then the consumer, he gains, he benefits. And This contradicts what the wisdom of Kabbalah says, that until we will reach the recognition of evil and get the correct education, we won't be able to improve anything. But you're bringing in the matter of competition here, that there is great profit or a great gain from being in competition. So instead of allowing one person to get 400 shekels, you have many that each of them gets 10 shekels, and because they have no other choice, they're all happy. So why are you saying that it's as if an obstacle, that someone tripped you? I'll tell you what I thought you'd say. I thought that you'd explain that the system, because it's integral, that not always the harm as a result of our behavior is transparent or immediate, but that we brought the cellular companies to their knees. No, you didn't bring them to their knees. You simply used their ego cunningly. You let them all enter the battlefield. And therefore, on the one hand, on the other hand, they have a problem, because they can't go in 10 companies and all of them get each 400 shekels from every client. Or maybe, but then it's a cartel. The problem is that the public itself is counting their gains. On the other hand, they were also harmed. Why? Because the system is integral. We also were also dependent on these companies. They had to fire many people. And our pension, our retirement funds are invested in those companies, and once they failed, we lost lots of money. So the general, obviously, we see it in everything. It's like now, for example, you'll have many unemployed from different shops, coffee shops, I don't know, all these small businesses that there will be no need for. So, of course, here we also hurt ourselves. Now, from those people that became accustomed to making lots of money from the current system, there are also philanthropists, people that give billions, and they also try to get other billionaires to help out, and we relate to it as world reformers. That it's egoistic, there's no real correction in it, we won't get any use out of it. That's usually the attitude. Now, from time to time, I also hear you say that nonetheless it's giving. That a person becomes used to thinking about others, and this becomes a second nature. I don't think that that's how it is. Everyone does it out of their own ego, obviously, that besides ego, they have nothing, and neither do we. And therefore, I don't look at these things as helping anything, or that I appreciate them in some way for it. Intensively being engaged in giving, does it not build a desire in a person for giving? Maybe, but he enjoys giving, and this is what pushes him in life. He enjoys giving. He appreciates himself. In his eyes, he's superior, and this is why he does it. And what's so bad about that? I'm not saying that it's bad. It's the same reception. Same reception of pleasure. These people that today are engaged in their different engagements, businesses, also in the time of the corona, they found ways of how to earn. Yeah, I heard that they made billions. Yeah. First of all, very clearly, the division is the big businesses in terms of consumerism, technology, internet, they're prospering, the big ones, and the intermediate or the smaller businesses, they're dying. And this is how it was. This is the direction that has been going on in the past years, that the big companies are growing bigger and the smaller ones are disappearing. And this was only exacerbated by the corona. So a person is used to using the laws to his own benefit, and suddenly we're saying, sit, do nothing better. Basic needs, the rest, education. How do you stop this inertia? You can't, because what's the substitute? Sit, do nothing. What's the substitute? What is he going to do? He wants to gain, prosper, do. He wants to get fatter, so to speak. And what? He can't. So what's the point in living? You're not giving him any goal, meaning in life besides an egoistic profit. So there's just one thing here, education. That with the help of education you will give him the opposite profit, that our profit will come by developing, not by our pocket growing fatter, but by correcting man's internality, that we have culture, education. There's the matter of connection between people here, meaning where are the other fulfillments that can fulfill us? I understand there's the matter of the appreciation of society. Also today, many of the billionaires, and not only billionaires, average people too, many of the fruits that we get from our work, it's not only money, it's also appreciation and different other means of compensation. Only the thing is that a person wants both. He's not willing to put one aside and to be satisfied, content with medals or appreciation. He wants both. It's because we still didn't talk about man's purpose. That we're going to realize different plans that seem nice to us, it doesn't mean that we're doing it correctly. With billionaires, without them, doesn't matter. What's important is it going hand in hand with the plan of nature? Nature is advancing us every time toward a more and more integral form, and we have to understand, are we going together with it or not? If not, then all the viruses, all the problems will come more and more frequently in order to correct us. And here we have to do the math. Are we advancing in accordance with the laws of nature to make everyone, to unite everyone? So here we're talking again about the algorithm that we started out with on our previous shows, and I'd like to continue with this. So actually, we come and say that if so, the solution isn't an instant solution, but it's first of all education, and it's a process. Yeah. And I'd like to stop here. A process of education. A process, it sounds, when people hear this, they're kind of perplexed. There are problems, there's poverty, there's unemployment. You're saying, wait a moment, process. How does that meet the instant problems of a country, of a person? We're saying, wait a moment, there's a process. What happens in the meantime? In the meantime, we give everyone a scholarship, that those billionaires, you have to come to them, to the country, it doesn't matter who you come up to and say, look, we have a problem, and it's an educational problem. If we will give people a kind of scholarship, like for students, and people that have nothing to do anyway, instead of them becoming mobsters and, just roaming around without any direction, if we'll teach those people how to become human beings, and we will give them their basic needs. One way or another, a person has to receive his basic needs. Working, not working, what can you do? So, for very little money, actually, we correct human society. We correct human beings. We arrange them correctly. By this, we calm all the forces in society down. We know how to tie them between them. And by that, we bring all of us to identify with nature, sympathize with the comprehensive nature, and from nature, as a whole will then see that it's treating us favorably and will succeed on different levels. Exactly. You're saying we will see from nature. We call it, in my profession, feedback. So we're saying that the process is an educational process with the inclination towards mutual responsibility, unity, and we'll get a positive feedback from nature because we're compatible with its laws. So what do you mean by feedback from nature? We will see that we are successful. As simple as that. Successful. How? In everything. In everything. With our children's education, crime rates, poverty, divorce, many things. In each and everything we will see. Is it possible to say that even though that the solution is a process that takes time, but still the feedback will precede it? We'll get an immediate feedback, positive feedback from nature, even though that we didn't get to an integral feeling yet? Of course, because we're starting to change man already. We are putting him into an educational system. We're paying him a scholarship. We're treating him as a student. We treat him as the builder of the new world with respect, and therefore it's something that I think is very respectable. A person should feel that he's respected, that he has a role. He's not just studying, passing time and getting pennies for it. And this is first of all what we teach him, that by connecting between us in this way, we human beings, by being connected between us in this way, we get out of nature the basic things that we need for living, but beyond that, besides that, we build ourselves. What I still don't understand is the relationship between society that is engaged in the beginning of this educational process and that hidden hand of nature. We started studying in return for a scholarship. Tomorrow morning, a person expects to feel some kind of change. He will feel, because we're talking about many people together that are starting to perform together a social action, and you can ask sociologists, psychologists. Immediately it will influence all of society, not only those studying but also those that are still going to work. It sounds kind of mystical. I want an understanding of how do the laws work here. We that start working together on something, human beings, meaning by this we generate a new force field, because we're all thinking, we're all acting, we're all studying, we're all talking. Our desires connect, and this way we feel things that we're generating, that we're making. By this, we're building a plant. It's a plant where we all meet together and we want to feel each other, feel ourselves, build a special global society, an integral connection between us. This is a very essential social action. So you come to an egoistic person in distress. At first he is kind of startled by you saying that it's a process, but you're also saying that you'll feel a change for the better. Of course. And you'll see in a few days, you'll start hearing what they're talking about, what are they talking about on TV, what they write about in the newspapers, it'll have an implication because we're talking about many people here. It's not that something happened to some child at school someplace, but it's happening to many adults that are starting to be engaged in something that they were never engaged in before. They all became students. Of course, it affects the entire nation. Okay, it's a good explanation, so let's go to the next stage of the algorithm. In the next stage, we said that if we did go through this entire process, including the feedback and everything, we will get a new state, a new economy that has several characteristics. First of all, it suits laws of the global integral world, and it's a must. Why? By connecting between us, by all of us together, taking care of these processes of this one goal. By this, we influence the laws of nature because we're inside of nature. We don't come out of nature into any other kind of framework. We're a part of the upper level of nature on the one hand. On the other hand, if we are this way, as opposed to the still, the vegetative, and the animate, willingly we connect, doing some vast action, something, or even in a country, within the framework of a country. By this, we generate a very new special force that influences all the levels beneath us. Suddenly you'll feel that you have cleaner air, not because you stopped with all of this, with the pollution, but that you're succeeding in different things. You have less people dying, ill, divorced, crime, less of everything. Suddenly you see that society is becoming healthier. What does it cost you? You're an economist, you should say. We'll get to that. The other characteristic of the economy is that it's stable. Why is this next state balanced in relation to the current one? Because nature is global and integral. We also become that way. We're not opposed to it, and therefore we influence nature, and nature influences us. And with nature, we are getting into some kind of mutuality, that between us there's some kind of a good and nice connection. Is it economy without ups, downs, crises? I don't know what you mean by economy. I'm talking about an economy of a country. No, I wasn't talking about the economy that in the meantime is in the hands of the tycoons and so on. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the new economy. This is what I'm asking about when we'll reach this new economy. No, I'm only talking about the level that is engaged in it. It is corrupted by society. It receives some kind of scholarship, support, because what can you do with these people? You want that today, suppose 60-70% of the country will become poor. Not only poor, it's, wandering around. Obviously not. It's almost the end of the show, but this is something that I want to find out. Let's go fast forward. Suppose that with scholarship and the education, economy gets a new form that is more balanced. Will we have no crises? Is it possible? Where do the crises come from? Where does the crisis come from? You're an economist. It comes as a result of over. Here you'll have no over, because those that are in the integral education, their needs are pre-known. It's what they need for their day-to-day life, their basic needs. You can't twist them by showing them another 100 different watches and mobiles and who knows what. Everyone gets what they need. Simple, reliable, because by nature, a person doesn't need any more. So the effect of the accumulative educational process in a society that's engaged in that will gradually change man's desires, and he will search for different fulfillments, not something that necessarily has to do with excessive consumption. Yeah, and then all the crises will disappear. And the next stage will be an economy that satisfies a person internally. Yes, so this is what we're going to talk about on our next show. What is this inner content? A person's content with life. He doesn't need anything from the material life, and he sees all of his achievements in what's beyond that. Beautiful. Thank you very much for your time, and see you on our next show. All the best. All the best.